Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. It is getting pretty chilly in New Zealand and I know I'm not really wearing anything appropriate for the winter time, but I have just recovered from a cold and I'm feeling alright, getting through it, and of course I do my best, absolute best, to get these videos done every fortnight, and through hail or shine, I'm here. Today's video is about how not to treat an INFP. As we know, INFPs have a very deep inner moral code, and we're very particular in the way that we respond to certain situations, and we know ourselves so well, so we know when a situation feels uncomfortable to us and how that feels and what that does to us. It is important for those around us to know what kind of triggers the INFP and the best way to go about bringing the best out in that INFP. So if you are dealing with an INFP in your life who you're not really sure how to interact with them properly because they may react in a way that you don't understand, this video is probably for you. I'm hoping it's for you. Let's just get into it. I wanna forget you, baby. I want you ready. The first one on the list is micromanagement. I know a lot of you are laughing at this one because it's such a very widely felt or widely repelled thing. As introverts, we as INFPs tend to prefer having space to be able to problem solve. When someone is looking over our shoulder continuously, it can be very off-putting. Like, we feel like many of we INFPs are quite socially anxious anyway, so having someone kind of breathe down our neck like that and pick out absolutely everything we do, it can be very distracting. We can feel very quite embarrassed, we can feel very exposed, and oftentimes micromanagement feels like a criticism, not just on the way that we do things but also on who we are as individuals. Micromanagement happens when a person thinks that the INFP can't carry the task out in the way that they see fit. But what actually ends up happening is when that person micromanages the INFP actually tends to do worse. INFPs like to feel trusted to be able to carry out a task, and we may not carry out these tasks in a way that the other person prefers. However, of course it depends on what the task is, but we are very creative individuals and we get there in the end with whatever method that works for us. To be given the independence to carry certain tasks out, it actually ends up building confidence in the INFP, and if there's anything that the INFP may be doing wrong, the best way to handle that is to gently encourage that INFP to go in the direction that you would prefer. But also it's really important to be able to tell that INFP what they do right. So when that INFP is given encouragement, they'll continue to keep doing the tasks in the way that you'd like. Gentle encouragement and confirmation, really, that works a lot better than micromanagement. The next one is don't publicly call us out. This one is kind of in the same family as micromanagement. As introverts, we are relatively private kinds of people, and especially with our feelings and emotions, we like to keep a really tight ship on those. So when you publicly call us out, this can bring the INFP great embarrassment. We're certainly not going to listen to the criticism that's coming towards us. Rather, we're going to be paying attention to how we are feeling and all the reactions from everybody around us. We will feel extremely exposed and we'll just retreat into our shells. As someone who's experienced being publicly called out before, I've really struggled to be able to say anything back to that person, or stand up for myself or respond in any way. Usually I just retreat and put a wall up and I freeze up. That's the best way to explain it. INFPs generally shy away from the spotlight as it is, even in a positive sense. So bringing the public eye in a negative way is absolutely going to really cut into that INFP and make them feel exposed, make them feel embarrassed, extremely embarrassed. It's like putting our dirty laundry out for everyone to see, and that is absolutely the last thing an INFP wants to do. So how do we handle this situation? If you are able to pull us aside and talk to us privately and respectfully, we in turn will respond a lot better. And that is not to be confused with sugarcoating. You can be quite direct, but as long as you're not critiquing the character of an INFP, INFPs are going to respond well and be very receptive. The next one is don't try to change us. Now, this is quite common for INFPs who share the 4-wing-5 Enneagram type. I know many of you probably are not familiar with the Enneagram personality types. I'll put a link in the description down below. They're quite fun as well. It's quite similar to the MBTI, and it just looks in deeper to who you are, really. I mean, of course, we're all individuals despite any kind of personality test we do. But back on track again, we don't like it when people expect us to change. Now, this isn't to be confused with changing negative behaviours. The INFP will generally understand their negative behaviours that need to be changed before anyone else does. Trust me. I'm more talking along the lines of who that person is as an individual. INFPs have a very keen sense of who they are and their individualism. And we're also people who like to support the underdog, like to support people who are themselves despite negative reception. So, it just goes to show how much INFPs like being who they are and how we don't really appreciate people coming into our space and telling us what they would do better or things about us that they would change. We tend to think of people like that as people who don't really understand us, and INFPs stereotypically are the kinds of people who feel really misunderstood in this very extroverted world. So when a person comes in and says they think we should change X, Y, and Z about us, it's a huge insult on who we are as people and the fact that they probably don't understand who we are. And this process is derived from our primary function introverted feelings. So it's a very strong trait of ours. You'll find that if you come to an INFP and expect them to change who they are as creative individuals, you'll find that the INFP will dig their heels down and probably in a very passive way. They could write a blog about it perhaps, or really intensify that characteristic about them that you don't like. I'm quite passive in the way that I challenge norms and challenge what people expect me to be, how people expect me to be. The best way to approach this situation would be to have a heart-to-heart with us. Talk about things that matter to you. Talk about your perspectives on things. As long as you are respectful and don't directly attack who we are, and if you're able to just speak your truth, we, of course, will be receptive to that kind of thing. And, it could end up being a really nice conversation talking about two different perspectives. And it can certainly be done respectfully. Don't assume we are stupid. INFPs tend to be very different. I don't know if that is the right word to use, but we do things that tend to be quite out of the box and authentic to who we are. And this may not fit into certain societal norms, and it probably doesn't. And from the outside looking in, it's easy to say, oh wow, this person over here tends to go off in this weird dreamy land and doesn't pay attention properly, and I think maybe something might be a little bit wrong with them. I've heard it all before. This is certainly not the case. This is just our creative process. This is the way we process information. We are introverts. We look internally to be able to solve problems, to be able to think intellectually about things, to be able to create. I once was told from someone close to me. Actually, I ended up overhearing them in another conversation with someone else saying, oh, I think there might be something a little bit wrong with Lexi. I think she might be a little bit slow because she kind of tends to go off in this fairyland and doesn't really pay attention. Oh, at the time I was really quite insulted because this person was close to me, and I was just thinking at that point in time, wow, you really don't understand me. And I was feeling very defensive about the way that I go about life and the way that I process information and the way that I put myself out there. This was the way that suited me the most. If I tried to be anything that I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to execute myself properly. I wouldn't be able to thrive. My process may be different than the normal, but I'm absolutely capable of taking an inch and running a mile with it. And I know this is very similar for a lot of other INFPs out there. The best way to respond to this is just by letting the INFP do what they need to do to be able to execute themselves. They are not stupid, they are not dumb, they are not away with the fairies, they're just processing. Tolkien actually had this kind of criticism. Everyone around him would criticize the fact that he was spending far too much time writing The Lord of the Rings and being off in his dreamy little world when he should have been focusing on reality and doing things their way. But who had the last laugh? Now moving on to the last one, and that is don't disregard our ambitions and dreams. I know sometimes that the INFPs, or like NFs in general, can really be quite far-fetched with what they would like to achieve in life. And there are a lot of cases where people, of course, sadly can't bring their dreams to fruition. However, this does not mean that they should not try. I always love reading success stories about how a person deemed as an underdog was told that they couldn't do X, Y, and Z, and through their determination, through their hard work, and through ambition and really reaching and striving for the absolute best, they were able to absolutely prove those naysayers wrong. And that is something I really admire and that I feel very inspired by. Generally, when an INFP has a cause that they believe in, they can really become an unstoppable force. It's really hard to stop them trying to achieve a creative goal if they've got it in their minds and in their hearts, and if they are feeling inspired by the things around them, they are going to leap in with both feet and their hands tied behind their backs, and they are going to make an impact. That's one thing I know about INFPs. INFPs feel happy. INFPs feel content when they are able to follow their true passions in life, their purpose. INFPs are very purpose-based. When a person disregards this aspect of ourselves or says, oh, you can't achieve that because it's too hard, because reality won't let you, or whatever reason, that INFP will feel absolutely invalidated. We'll feel like that person doesn't believe in us. And if we do have really good support around us, helping to build us up and helping us in areas of weakness such as introverted sensing and extroverted thinking, we are more likely going to stick to our passions. I know that it helps me to have people closest to me support my dreams and ambitions and really help me stick it out when I'm not feeling the greatest or when I'm on that low. Of course, it is important to be realistic. And as an INFP, as I've gotten older and more balanced, I've come to realize for my personal self what goals are realistic and what goals aren't. And I have continued to strive for realism, but also I know that I have this fire inside of myself, and to trust in that fire, to trust that I can take myself really far if I am really determined, and if extroverted intuition is kicking me in full gear going, yep, keep following your dreams and ambitions. Just continue to work hard. Don't stop. Don't sit down. And now I'm starting to ramble. But the whole point about this last one is that the best way to deal with an ambitious INFP is to really support them. Even if you realistically don't think that they're going to make anything out of their passion or whatever it tends to be, just support them. Just be an ear. If you really care about them and really care about their well-being, and if you know that in order for that person to feel happy, they need to feel like they're following their purpose, then you're going to want to be supportive. Anyway, that about wraps up this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that you learn a little bit more about the INFP, and I'll be back in a fortnight for a really exciting video, and I hope you enjoy that one too. I'm really excited about planning this one, and yeah, because I just am, and you'll see. So anyway, I hope you have a really good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye!